Tell me this, because we have very different childhoods, and I think you look back at yours more fondly than I look back at mine. But we both grew into wonderful men. What
Which
what's one thing with your beautiful boy coming into this world that you're like, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that he doesn't go through or develop this thing that you have or went through in your life? Is there one thing where you're like, I had a great life, loved my parents, loved my adolescence, but there's one thing in particular I really want to shield my son from?
do you have something?
Well, my life is a giant one. No, yeah, I mean, I think mine is, I really,
I don't think your life is a giant one, by the way, but continue.
it's not. I have, for me, it's, stability that I really want to give my
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
because I lived a cool, interesting life and it worked out and I feel very lucky. But I think I think that kids up to a certain age having really secure roots is a gift and important. And it makes them willing to take risks later in life.
Yes. Yes. Totally. Um, what would I change? The question was, what do I want to shelter him from that maybe I experienced?
Yeah.
Um, it's a really, really good question. One, I want to shelter him in general. I think that people go back and forth on this, and I guess it changes if you don't live in a big city. But when you live in a big city, you can only shelter a kid so much. But people look at sheltering as if it's such a terrible thing. It's only a terrible thing if you raise the kid to be like a racist bigot, right? But if you teach them right from wrong and to have empathy and to love everyone that they come in contact with, I think that sheltering them from the terrible depths of the world is an enormous blessing. Like kids don't need to grow up so hard. I didn't grow up hard, but I'm saying in general, trying to think of something specific that I would change. I definitely have like some uh anxiety around, I would say eating. Eating is the one thing that I would want to
That's
make sure
fair.
of. Like I want to try my hardest to not have my child have what is a version of an eating disorder. Typically people think of eating disorders when they think of not eating, like
Mm,
bulimia or something like that, but we both had eating disorders. I think in general, my every member of my family at one point was obese, and I think that that diet culture. I think that the country is changing. I think that our foods are changing, which I think is awesome. So automatically, he's coming into a world that's just a little bit better. Like I was thinking yesterday, uh, Claudia's been loving having cereal when she's pregnant. And like you just like look at the back, like she can have whatever she should have whatever she wants. But like you look at the back, these cereals have 20 grams of added sugar in, it's just crazy to me. And like you're thinking to yourself, if you're predisposed to sugar making you feel a certain way, like an endless pit. For me, sugar is an endless pit. If I have added sugar, I'm going to be eating just for sport. It's just something that happens to me when I have sugar. So like being able to just help him uh, understand that you can eat whatever you want in moderation, that you shouldn't have too much sugar, that it's not a flex to overeat. I think trying to shield him from that kind of stuff would be awesome. Diet culture in general. I would love if he never had to go on a diet. That said, he will, and he's gonna be so cute and fat. But
mm.
you
Yeah.
know,
Well, to your point, I think like I don't think your parents even knew. Like I don't think
they
my
didn't. They
my mom
didn't.
knew. Right? Like you talked about being on SlimFast when you were a kid, right? Like
Yes.
we didn't know, they didn't know any of this stuff. And
No.
so they were so I'm speaking in general terms here because our parents, my mom's older than your parents, but it's of a certain northeastern Jewish cultural generational parent. This is a generation of people so obsessed with food. It
Yes.
it, it is of a it must have been also as a byproduct of having the greatest generation as parents. So that coming out of World War II rationing, there was such a surplus
Yes.
of just access to as much as they want, that it became like the joke amongst my Jewish relatives and family is just like the what is spoken about at lunch is what we're having for dinner. And what's spoken
Yes.
about at dinner is
Always.
what we're having tomorrow. And it's just like, I'm so glad to not give my kids that.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard. Like the idea of watching TV without a snack. Like you can't do I don't ever remember a time where I would do any activity in my house without eating.
But it's not like it's not like you're having this kid 4 or 5 years ago where you had those not as great habits and you were at your biggest. Like, you've really done an incredible job. Like, you've changed so many habits. You eat so much healthier. You're in such great shape now. Like, don't you think you're already starting so much ahead?
Yes, because I'm very, very aware. I don't want to speak for my parents. I don't know what they thought necessarily. I'm very in tune with what makes me not feel good.
Mm.
Like we've spoken about this before, whether I'm celiac or not. If I have a bagel during a podcast episode, I'm going to fall asleep. So I try to avoid bagels during the day when I know that my brain needs to be alert. I'll save it for a time where I don't need that, right? Or I'll try to avoid added sugars because they don't make me feel good. I'm more anxious when I have too much added sugar. I think that there are things like that. But at the same time, as I'm even talking about this, Josh, this concept that like I need to avoid things is also bad. Like it's not bad to have something unhealthy. It's bad to
No.
have it's bad to need to have so much of it. Like I still have this problem. I love dates, right? But I found a way to have 6. Nobody should be eating 6 dates at a time, 7 dates at a time.
It's not that much.
You don't know? Like, I guess the serving size on the back says 2 to 3. I have 7. That's what makes me think about it.
But
I
are
don't
you
know.
doing that a few times a day?
No, I'm doing it once every 2 days.
When it's, I mean, if that's like the major snack, I don't think it's like some horrible thing.
I guess my point more is just like I just still eat when I'm not on Manjaro or whatever the hot drug is. I still eat in abundance. That's still my problem. It's not what, it's how much. I will eat a salad, but I will eat the biggest fucking salad you've ever seen with 250 grams of chicken. And even when I'm full, I will eat and eat and eat. And I would love nothing more than for him not to have that addictive personality towards food because it's crippling. It's a crippling feeling to know that you are too full and to eat more.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And I think it's all, I remember what Paige and I do a good job, I think, with, and that's because of Paige, is like, we don't embarrass. I feel like grown-ups growing up when I was a kid in the 90s, grown-ups had no problem embarrassing you in front of other people if you had food issues.
Of course.
And I think my mom, actually, I give her credit because she was sensitive to it, because I think she had her own struggles. But you'd have aunts, uncles, cousins, these nebbishy, these big mouth Jews, like, you're eating too much. You're a walking heart attack. I'd be like, I'm 9. And they'd be like, I can see them writing on the wall. But
Terrible.
what Paige and I will do with Max is we'll say, like, listen, dude, like, enjoy, great, have fun. But like, if we're going to crush it at a birthday party for lunch or for dinner, like, then the meals surrounding it are going to be healthy. And I remember once Paige was kind of getting on me to be like, make sure that he was eating healthier. Cause I'm dad. I'm fun. I am fun. I'm like, come on, let's crush a cupcake. No one's looking. And it's 4 p.m, time to celebrate. But we were at a party with friends and there were a bunch of kids around and they were all going to get cupcakes. And I said, Max, and he didn't look over. And I said, Max Peck. And he looked over when all the kids were eating. And this like sits with me. I feel really horrible about it. It's like a bad memory. And I said, mm-mm. And he just was like, but everyone else is having it. And I was like, And it was like one of the rare times, because he's not that kid where I saw him start to well up, like at 4 or 5 years old. And I was like, damn it. And I remember, like, my wife saw it. She's like, pick your battles. What are you doing? Like, this isn't the time. And I'm like, oh, I thought we had a plan. And I took Max over to the side and I said, go get the cupcake. And I was like, and I tried to explain at least, I'm like, because I didn't want it to go completely brushed under the rug, but I was like, we're trying to eat, healthy at times. And I didn't realize, and we are at a party with your buddies and I want you to enjoy too. But we just have to know that we'll try to eat healthier at other meals. And he got it. But you know what I mean? It's a balance.
It's a balance. And it's also this idea. I don't think I learned until recently that if you skipped a meal, you weren't going to die.
Right.
Like, I guess Yom Kippur is like the only thing that like sort of teaches you that or taught me that at a young age. Like, you're not going to die. But like, we put a real emphasis on you need breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks.
Right.
And I think that just like constant feeding to the wrong type of person creates this just like, I'm a dumpster. I was a dumpster. And the second that I stopped eating breakfast, I became less of a dumpster. Because if you eat fucking something delicious and sugary in the morning, at least for me, my day is fucked.
Right.
Completely fucked. If I have French toast for breakfast, I'll see you in Vegas. Like, it's over. I'm not working for a second. I just can't. I don't know. And it's about knowing your body. So, and maybe he gets great genes. Maybe you never know. He could be a walking stick. I doubt it. But maybe he's one of those people, fast metabolism, can eat whatever they want. Again, doubt it. But I'm not going to, it would be, even as I'm saying this, I'm saying like I'm not going to limit. But like, I hope I don't need to limit.
You will, but it'll be within reason.
We're so deep. What is this, Jay Shetty?
I don't know. Who knew? Who knows?
Where do we go from here?
Nowhere. Let's call it.
Okay.